Provisional electoral registers are available for consultation. Have you noticed any errors or omissions on your personal details, cases of multiple registration, or deceased loved ones? Well, wait no more. Report to the Lekam Council branch where you got registered, and our field staff will do the rest. Let's work together for the establishment of a credible electoral register. This is a message from Elections Cameroon.
Good evening and a hearty welcome to the first edition of the TWHIN elections, but the second edition of the series of programs which CRTV has devoted to the upcoming TWHIN elections, or the legislative and council elections. I said the second because the French edition was broadcast last Tuesday, and this is the first edition in the English language. In about 3 weeks' time, Cameroonians will be going to the polls to elect members of the National Assembly. 42 political parties are competing for the 180 seats available at the National Assembly. As part of the build-up, CRTV has invited some of the actors to talk about their hopes and aspirations, challenges, and the stakes or importance involved in the upcoming elections, and which supposes that the elections will trigger a series of other elections, notably the regional election, and usher in the special status which is contained in the Code on Decentralization. We will focus today on the legislative elections, and next week we'll come to the council elections. We have as guests on the program this evening, we have Dr. Winekem Prasidis, 9. She's of the civil society. Doctor, you're welcome.
Thank you, Joe.
And we have the person I would qualify as the indefatigable Professor Elvis Ngole. He is representing the CPDM today. Good evening.
Thank you. Good evening. Thank you very much.
And we have on my left there is Mr. Calvin Ta Ndango. He's a barrister at law, but representing the SDF political party. You're welcome.
Thank you very much, Joe.
And right down on my left, we have Mr. Leonard Tumenta. He's representing the NUDP political party. You're welcome.
Thank you, Joe.
Okay, I like to begin with the politicians, or those who are representing political parties, and ask this general question. How is the build-up like to the polls next month? Leonard?
Thank you.
Already excitement in the field?
Yeah, first of all, before saying anything, I would like you, Joe, to permit me to thank the National Chairman for His Excellency Bubabilo Magari for giving me the opportunity to represent our party here.
That's a little bit of politicking.
No. The NUDP party, as you can see, we are going in for 80 parliamentary seats. I am the only candidate for the Northwest and the Southwest for Parliament.
That's interesting.
And we are hoping for the best.
Okay. The build-up within the ranks of the Social Democratic Front?
Of course, we've been working very hard to prepare towards these elections. We have been all this while handling pre-electoral litigations. From every indications from the pre-electoral litigations, of course, we've been succeeding. I will know that we're going to succeed to the end. So our victory in the pre-electoral...
the excitement is there because you're succeeding in the litigations.
In the litigation.
Professor Elvis Ngolengole, at the level of the the CPDM party, apparently you have switched on the electoral machine. I saw some pictures earlier on today about what they are doing at the level of the Central Committee of your party.
Yes, as the majority party in Cameroon and or the leading party, the Secretary General of the Central Committee has had a series of consultations with his collaborators at the General Secretariat and collaborators who are the operational commanders at the regional and divisional levels. And yesterday he organized an information meeting with all the leading stakeholders of the party to give them a discourse on the contours of the campaign,
yes,
and
apparently things
the context.
Are moving on smoothly.
And it looks the troops are ready because the machinery is in place. And as Barrister Ndango said earlier, we see even at the level of the courts, meaning at this time the Supreme Court in its administrative chamber, our cases there I think went quite well, and we think that we are ready to go into the field and face the challenges and exchange with the other competing parties, and make new friends and learn from each other and hope for the best.
You just talked there about the majority party. Should you be talking about a majority party when you're going in for the elections? You don't know yet the outcome?
Yes, we're going in from a base.
As per the last legislation.
As per the last legislation, as of now, before the elections, we are the majority party because we command 148 seats out of the 180. So we are clearly at the level of the legislatures. We are the majority party because of that statistic. At the level of the municipals, the CPDM commands 305
we are not yet there.
Councils out of the 360.
We'll come back to that shortly. Dr. Weinkem, apparently the effervescence is not yet in full gear, maybe because the campaigns haven't started yet.
That is as far as I know, because it is, in my opinion, until then that you can really judge who is doing what has been done. The layman can only feel the pinch at that time to see exactly whether elections are the pump.
Okay.
It's already in move, the wheel is in motion or something. I think as at now it is early to
talk about the effervescence.
Yes.
Okay. He just talked about 80, they are contesting for 80 seats. Mm-hmm. You're contesting for how many?
Of course, the Social Democratic Front is going in 46 constituencies. We know that there are some constituencies with more than 2 seats, like Fundi. Fundi has has 7 seats. So we are going in roughly 80 parliamentary seats, and this time around we are sure to win. Okay.
You have every right to be optimistic. Okay. I'd like us to set the ball rolling from our machines with this report which Yoti Kaleli Songe did for us on the who is who in the polls and which party is represented where and how many political parties are competing in the legislative elections. When we come back, we'll begin talking point.
Top on the list of candidates for the legislative elections whose reputations precede them is House Speaker Kava Yege Jibril, who heads the CPDM list in his native Mayo Sava. Similarly, that in the Upper Sanaga division of the Central Region, the Senior Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly, Hilarion Etong, tops the CPDM list. In the Lekie, Jean-Bernard Ndongo Isomba is on the front line for the CPDM, and Koa Sengo is making a comeback after failing to be part of the 9th legislature, while the president of the Pan-African Parliament, Roger Nkododang, is the key player for the same party in Nyong and Fumu. 3 former presidential candidates will also run the parliamentary race during the February 9 twin elections. They include Cabral Libi of PCRN, Serge Espoir Matomba of Univer, and Joshua Osi of the SDF party. Renowned politicians like Jean-Jacques Ikindi will run in Wuri Center for his party, Progressive Movement, and Olivier Billet of the UFP will face the RDI and CPDM in Upper Nyong, East region of the country. Issa Chiroma Bakari is the flag bearer for his party FSNC in the Benue, and in the West region, Chedo Datwo and Albert Quinche are present for the CPDM, while Tomaino Ndamjoya represents UDC in the Noon. Emilia Lifaka is also one of the big names heading the CPDM list in Fako West constituency, while Mbandam leads the SDF in Momo East, and of course, Adamu Aji of the NUDP in Diamari Center. On the whole, 35 political parties are running for the legislative polls, wherein some of the most contested constituencies include Wari Center with 5 lists, Benue and Mayoluti with 4 lists each, likewise Mezam Center and North, as well as Mefu Akono and Fundi with 4 lists each, and Lebialem. But the Diamari in the far north region beats all the others, as 7 political parties are vying for victory. The CPDM is, however, sure of 35 seats in constituencies such as Dongamantung Center, Upper Sanaga, Ilekie East, West, Nyong and Fumu, Kadei, Nkam, Nde and Dian, where they are the lone contenders. The same goes for the SDF in Boyo, where they will face only themselves at the legislative election on February 9.
Leonard, when you listen to her with the big names and the talk about who is who will be contesting where, what was your first reaction?
Well, you know, when you are going into a football pitch for a game, there is no big player. The field is a level.
Sometimes the names are intimidating.
No, for non-footballers, if you are a player, you are a player. You should not be intimidated. I'm not intimidated by any big name. I know the field, the playground is level, and we can't talk until the D-Day.
But the Social Democratic Front and the opposition generally looks like they will be accompanying the CPDM in most of the competition. Would you buy that? When
I don't think that
some analysts say that.
I don't think we are accompanying the CPDM in any of the competitions because they have political parties that are accompanying them, particularly those calling for boycotts or the Amber Boys. They are accompanying CPDM. We are going in for an election, and a name does not frighten us because we are in a democracy and numbers count, not names.
Okay. Your party looks very comfortable because they will have as many as 35 seats uncontested. Because they are already running alone. The SDF has just 1 or 2, that's in Boyo.
We have 17
you have 17 constituencies. Yeah. That gives you a foretaste of the victory you are supposed to have.
Yes, we're quite comfortable with that, knowing that the men and women who are members of this party, who are militants, have worked very hard from Wum all the way to Mulundu, from Edinao all the way to Yagua. I mean, these men and women have worked hard because they are militants of conviction, and they believe that the party is what will guarantee Cameroon a better future. But we are comfortable in competing with our friends from the other parties, as you've just heard from Mr. Tumenta and Barrister Ndango. You know, they are competing in, you know, for the UNDP, about what, 40 or so, 40-something constituencies, and for the SDF, about 80 or so. But the CPDM is competing in all the for all the 180
many people would
seats
say
in
that
all the
you're using
constituencies.
that the accusation which they usually level against you is that you use state machinery to add to your power.
Well, you know, I mean, that criticism has always been there, but as we've always said, the CPDM is an association. As a political party, it is an association, and it believes that as an association, it has to respect the rules that govern associations. It is not a state party, but because it is the majority party, it is a party that runs the government, because its members, its militants are the ones that are in government and so forth and so on. But we recognize that other political parties at different levels, including the national level, also take part in running the government, because the government is both at the national level, at the regional level, and at the local council level. And we know that other political parties are involved in at one level or the other. So the CPDM doesn't try to function and to conduct itself as a state party, because it is not. And because of that, it cannot use the state apparatus. But by virtue of the fact that it is running the government as a majority party, the criticism tends to be that it is using the state apparatus, whereas we are conscious that we are an association. For example, yesterday when the Secretary General of the Central Committee launched the operations, he did emphasize on the fact that all the militants of CPDM must understand that in this campaign and in other activities, they have to engage in auto-financing. They have to know that they have to be the ones who have to finance this campaign and this party, because that is the way forward. We cannot afford to expect that someone else will finance the party for us.
Is it not late to be talking about financing?
Well, it's not late, because it's simply reminding us, because it's something we've been doing. We've been doing, for example, you know that in certain places, people dip their hands in the pocket and contribute hundreds of millions.
How will they get that money back? Just to see their party win?
Well, just to see their party win, because if their party wins, they think that they have won. In other words, they put their party first, and they see their interest in the party, and that's why they're willing to dip their hands in the pocket and finance or support the party. By the way, this phenomenon is not limited to Cameroon. It is a phenomenon which occurs in almost all democracies. Whether you go to North America or in Europe, there are big and small people, militants,
who sponsor parties.
Who sponsor parties because they see their interest in these parties.
Okay. When you listen to them talk about the way they see things coming, what's your reaction as a keen observer of the political scene?
Joe, before I get there, I want to go back to the documentary that we just watched.
Yeah, the report.
The report, sorry. I keep wondering where women are. Because even at the level of the big names that you keep talking about, I saw just one woman. And even when Prof made mention of the fact that the CPDM has done a lot on the field, work which has been done by the men and women, I wonder whether the woman's place is just in the doing of the work, or she too is projected. Because when I saw the people representing the party in the report, I saw just one woman.
No, that report was talking about the big names. And when you talk about big names at the National Assembly, the outgoing legislature, at least Madame Lifaka is a big name. So many of the women have not yet grown up to that level of big names, but they are there because I remember what Elekam was doing was to cross-check whether women are represented, and that they had to ensure that with all the political parties, not only with the CPDM. So I think for that, rest assured, they will be there. So maybe you take my question now.
Yes, so in my opinion, I think that the other parties are normally supposed to sit up, because I really have not heard much. When you hear that the CPDM has gone as far as launching activities, bringing its people to the ground and telling them how to go about this thing, mobilizing funds, I begin to wonder whether the other parties are ready to go in for these elections, if all they can say is what I've heard here.
Okay.
So I think that
there are about 42 political parties going in for the legislative elections, and there's always this criticism that most of the opposition parties like to go in to get the money and not going in to win, for example? Leonard?
Well, I don't
Maybe
know.
you would talk for your party, but by extension, the opposition?
Yes, I will talk for my party because I came here to represent my party. We are very much convinced that elections in Cameroon will run, and we are political parties. We are loyal to our political leaders. We are not coming there for money. We are coming there because we respect the laws of the land.
Okay. You just made mention about your political party, loyalty, and so on and so forth. How would you, as a political party, particularly the NUDP party, go for campaigns now and talk about maybe you want to seize a parliamentary seat from the CPDM, knowing that you have been allies before?
As I said earlier before, Joe, you are going in for a football match, there's no big player.
It's not a question of big player, but people with whom you have been allies, now you have to campaign against them.
It's an election. When it comes to the interest of Cameroon, I mean, to build a nation, we form alliances, right? We were before with an alliance with the CPDM. Now, the thing got broken. Ever since they announced the legislative election, there is no more alliance. We are going there now as a political party.
So what will you be telling your supporters? The person with whom you were yesterday talking about singing the same song. You now say, no, don't sing that song again, but sing now this one. How would they perceive that?
Joe, I would like to tell you...
Or your militants are educated enough?
No. I don't have anything to tell anybody because, first of all, where I come from in Gogotunja, they are all in the bushes.
So you will be talking to who?
I'll be talking to nobody. I'll be talking to nobody, Joe, because they are all in the bushes.
So who will come and vote for you?
Well, if conditions are favorable, they will come out and they will vote.
Okay. Barrister Ndango?
Yeah, to talk about political parties or candidates that are going after the money and not of the interest of the people. Of course, we know the political parties. Some of them are in the presidential majority. Some of them have been supporting the ruling CPDM before. They know what they are looking for. But for us, we are not after the money. If we were looking for the money, we would have been in government equally. I want to say that this is a moment where some political parties parade themselves like as opposition political parties, but really they are not of the opposition. You cannot be in government and you pretend to be an opposition to be proposing something different.
Maybe you are arrogating. They are saying that they are with you. They are saying that they are with you. I say, no, you are not with us.
No, they cannot be saying they are with us because they are out to accompany and help the CPDM win. We know. Because today you cannot be claiming that you're of the opposition when yesterday you were supporting the same CPDM candidate and their ideologies. I wanted to say something with regards to where are the big names of the women. Of course, we know. Ask the CPDM where the big names are.
You don't have big names in your party?
We have big names in our party, but you've not mentioned them. You've not mentioned them because the big name, of course, CPDM was sanctioned in Boyo for not respecting women. So I ask the CPDM who determine who the big names are to tell you where the big names are. They have not heard much of the Social Democratic Front or other political parties. Of course, just as you said that the state machinery, the CPDM used the state.
I didn't say that. It was an allegation.
It was an allegation, but I want to confirm it.
Which he responded perfectly.
Yes. You are giving him a pass mark for that. Okay. I want to say that, no, but that's not true. All the militants, all the ministers of the regime are heading divisional, sub-divisional, and regional campaign teams. Of course, I know they are going to use state cars. They are going to use the workers, the civil servants. They are going to use even the CRTV and all the cameras because wherever a minister is, of course, you will accompany them. When we had our own meeting, when we will be having our own meeting, because we don't have a minister.
Did you indicate to CRTV that you will be having a meeting and it wasn't covered?
We've always indicate. We always call for press conference. We indicate. Okay, you are now saying that we now have.
I, as an official
we
in
now have to
CRTV,
indicate that we are having a
we
meeting.
usually cover your meetings. I would attest as
you
an
decide
official
which one
in the
to
news.
cover. You decide which one to cover and which not to cover. Of course, from now to about how many days they'll be talking about the CPDM switching on the campaign machinery to go on. Of course, you'll be talking about that. But when the SDF had his.
No,
of course, we had maybe some private channels they're talking about it, but you will not have the CRTV talking about. Of course, it's a state television. Of course, it's your company, those who incarnate.
That's what you think, right?
State authorities.
That's what
I'm saying, and that's what Cameroonians are saying. We are all making the assessment. I'm a candidate. I want to see if a CRTV camera will accompany me as I go down.
Okay, you bring your coverage request, and you see whether we would not do that. At the end, we'll come here and talk, and I wish you well. But let me ask this question. You were leaving the 9th legislature with 18 seats in parliament. Yeah. What's your objective? Win more than 18 or get your parliamentary group?
SDF is a party of the people. We want to represent the people more. The people have an interest that more SDF candidates are voted to go in parliament to continue the work they started since 1990. And we hope that we are going to win these elections and have more than that number. We have a worry, and that worry is because the state has failed woefully to protect the people of Northwest and Southwest and their properties, and to guarantee that there will be elections in Northwest, and so that's our worry now. And I don't know why they have made themselves accomplices to what is happening in Northwest, because I don't know why only SDF candidates have been kidnapped. I've not heard one day that the military has rescued some of them that have been kidnapped. I don't know why only houses of SDF militants or big shots are burnt. I've not heard that some of them have been arrested by the military. They are unable to even protect the candidates. Okay. And I doubt today whether they'll be able to protect the population that will be going to the polling stations to vote.
The Northwest and the Southwest used to be a bastion.
It's still.
How would you say it's
what is happening now is a calculated mechanism. It's a way that has been.
But there are many people who accuse you. Let me say, there are many people who accuse you that you are being beaten by the fingers you fed.
I don't think so. I don't think so. If there are so many people have been accusing that's an allegation, it is not true.
Okay.
It is not true.
I want the CPDM candidate to respond maybe to some of the allegations you've made, and then I'll ask him my own question.
Yeah, the first response to the allegations he's made is that indeed and in fact the state is not an accomplice to, and the CPDM, of course, as a political party, is not an accomplice to
what's happening in the Northwest
and Southwest.
And
on the contrary,
happening to the SDF.
Yes, on the contrary, the state, and the CPDM supports the state, has done everything and continues to do so to protect the people, their lives, their property in the Northwest and Southwest. That's why within this period of elections, you saw in the news, and we all followed the news, the state has dispatched additional forces to the Northwest and to the Southwest. And in the last governors' meeting that the Minister of Territorial Administration had with the governors, the 10 governors, they did insist on the security and the safety factor as far as the Northwest and Southwest is concerned, because, as a matter of fact, the people of the Northwest and Southwest are bona fide citizens of Cameroon, and they are men and women, citizens of integrity, who love Cameroon, and who want the same goodness, the same development as all other Cameroonians, and the state of Cameroon, beginning with the head of state and the president, have shown that the people of the Northwest and Southwest deserve and will get the protection that they merit from the state. And that is why all the measures that have been taken so far for the last 3 years have been aimed at ensuring that the people of the Northwest and Southwest are safe from all the destruction, all the kidnapping, and all the things that all of us have condemned. So it is that criticism is not founded to say that the state has failed. The state has not failed because the greatest majority of the people of the Northwest and Southwest continue to live in the Northwest and Southwest. That tells you that the people of the Northwest and Southwest love these two regions. And so they continue to live there, even though the conditions have been dangerous for them. They have accepted that the measures the state has taken are good enough for them to be able to continue to stay there. And so the greatest majority continues to stay in these two regions. And that is why come during the campaign, which begins on the 25th, and on the election day, which is the 9th of February, the majority of the people of Northwest and Southwest will continue to remain in the Northwest and Southwest, and I'm one of those who believes that they will vote more this time, more than they did in the last election. Okay. Because a lot has changed, they've got more information now. I think that they know now better than they did a year or two ago.
Okay. I would want to add that the Army Chief of Defense Staff was in the Southwest yesterday, and he was in the Northwest today to ensure, maybe to allay some of the fears which you were expressing here. So to help
to make
secure.
A declaration that
no, it's not to make a declaration.
It was to make a declaration. He landed in Bafoot Stroh to meet the governor and make a declaration. Did he get to Mbengui? Did he get to Bali?
Did you follow the report?
I followed the report.
But there are other people. There are other people
I
on the
want
ground
to be sure that CPDM, big shots, so those coordinating the campaigns will not go there with armor cars, because I don't know how many armor cars have been provided for voters to go and vote.
It's not possible to provide armor cars for every voter.
Of course,
so, which means that they will vote freely.
Only the big shots of the CPDM have armor cars.
Yes,
one problem. I want to take exception to this accusation from the SDF that we are working with the government. And I want to let Metro know here that every political party is working with the government. You are in opposition to a government.
Of course.
You are not an opposition to yourself, so you have to erase that accusation that we are coming just because of elections. No, we are a party. We are a political party. So don't say we are coming because of elections and we are working with the government. The same way you are suffering, your militants are suffering in the Northwest and in the Southwest is the same way our militants are suffering. So the only reason why I came up here today, excuse me, sir, the only reason why I came here is to use this platform to clamor for peace.
All of us
this is
are
why I'm here
clamoring
today.
for peace.
Okay.
You have been accompanying the regime in Yaoundé and the government to do all what is happening in Northwest and Southwest. You cannot pretend to be today opposing.
Where is the chairman of the SDF as we speak? He has run away. He's not in Cameroon.
No, who told us that?
No, he's not in Cameroon. If you want, he's not in Cameroon. It's not an allegation. It's a fact.
That is an allegation that he has run away.
Is he in Cameroon?
Somebody moving out of
is he in Cameroon? The chairman of a political party, 3 weeks to election, is out of the country doing what?
Okay, Leonard.
It's a political party, and the SDF party is a part of the people and not the party of the
chairman. Please, can we refocus our thoughts so that I orientate you towards what I want you to give me as response?
To add to what I was saying was that for the CPDM party, and based on the circular of the Secretary General and the discourse he made yesterday when he launched the operations, the objectives of the CPDM in this election are multiple. One, we have to preserve our achievements politically, economically, socially, in terms of democracy. Two, we have to be able to have a crushing victory in terms of in relation to what we had in the last election.
All right, which means you are aiming at more than 148.
We're aiming at more than 148, but our hopes are that our hopes are the same like our friends of the UNDP.
I don't want the only lady on the set to feel that because she's a woman again sidelining her. I want you to react to what they are saying first before I ask you my own question. Maybe if you don't have anything to say concerning what they are saying, that's the fact that the NUDP is allied with the CPDM and now they are going out as as a separate party on their own to campaign for seats. And we remember that some time ago in the past, the NUDP had 68 members of parliament, and it has dwindled to 5 today. And so it looks like when you ally with the CPDM, you lose your identity somehow.
Yeah, because for me, I have the impression that it's a brotherly kind of
arrangement.
Yes, it's a brotherly kind of, because when you move out today and you stand on your own, when the elections are over, what happens? Where do you go to? You go back home. You go back home. So if UNDP is promising us Cameroonians today that they have realized themselves and that they can stand to fight for the population that they are going out to co-opt to vote for them, then that will be fine. Coming back to the issue of the accusations levied by the SDF, to the best of my knowledge, I know the government is doing a lot to ensure the safety of the population out there. But I have a worry. My worry is the approach. My worry is the approach, the military approach. To be very candid, because I continue to believe that the people the military is targeting are far in their hinterlands. And the population, like Your Excellency is saying, those who cannot move, it is for those who cannot move, because a greater majority have moved out of the place. Those who cannot move are there, and they are the ones who fall prey, who pay the price.
Okay.
So if the government could develop an approach or adopt an approach, a peaceful kind of, I think that it will be more convincing and people will be more ready to think that it can come up out on that day, because one or two persons in the bush, I mean those carrying guns, may be convinced somehow that these people have a message. But fighting, somebody says you're coming to fight, okay, I have to fight back. I have to fight back. And so
I
what
think
happens?
that with me not being, without claiming to be a military expert, there's what you call dissuasive presence of the military to dissuade any person who would want to cause trouble.
And
to know that
and they will not be voting, right? Or they will be voting.
No, that you cannot say. If the
of course
it's a laycam, it's a laycam that knows.
You cannot be saying things are returning to normal, and then towards the elections you pump military.
No,
of course, to go and vote.
You are a barrister at law, and so you take before I take it to the Constitutional Council, let the people know that the military is coming there for the elections. If 100 people vote in Momo, 100 military people vote in Momo, elections took place in Momo. Okay.
No, but the military has always voted. The law recognizes for the military to vote.
Wherever they are, because they are citizens.
They are going there for that
vote
purpose.
wherever they may be on election day.
And they are going there
the law
for that
recognizes
purpose
that
there are
everywhere in the world.
Yes.
So they are not only there because the government. It is normal that wherever the military are, the law recognizes the electoral code and others that they can vote wherever they are.
Because they are on mission.
And when they think that there are no people to vote, you send them
Barrister
there
please.
To make as if elections actually took place. Let the military
Barrister
go there
please.
and so that we count some votes.
Let's center our discussions on the question I would ask, not opinions on issues you think. Now, why are the rural areas less competitive for political parties than the urban areas? Maybe Dr. Winekem can take that.
When you look at the urban areas, it is obvious that the cream of people found therein are not the same kind of cream you will find in the rural areas. The diversity we talk about is mostly felt in the urban areas. You see people of all walks of life, people of all, people representing just Cameroon, as I can say. A thing which will likely not happen in the rural areas. If you go to a place like Yaoundé, for example, you will find people from different regions going in for elections here. But you hardly find somebody in a place like Marwa, for example. Akwaya.
Let's take Obala.
Sorry, I'm talking about Marwa. Let me talk about Akwaya or Obala, like you've rightly said. From a different place, the person is not known. The person is not known. And again, the government of Cameroon today is preaching the doctrine of living together. And that aspect of living together is mostly felt in the urban area than in the rural areas, because people are concentrating.
Coming in from various parts of the country.
Yes.
Okay. Now, when you listen to her speak, it gives, it looks like the CPDM is stronger in rural areas than in urban areas.
Yes.
How would you explain that?
It is. You know that we are. The CPDM is a grassroots people's party, and the CPDM recognizes that those men and women out there in the rural areas, they are as important as those in the urban centers, because the rate of urban development in our country is such that a huge percentage of the population is still in rural areas. And so the CPDM, knowing very well that it's a people's grassroots party, focuses a lot on those people in the rural areas, knowing very well that those in the urban areas, they are diverse, and it's cosmopolitan enough. And the tendency for as far as the CPDM campaign strategies are concerned,
you target more rural areas
the
than
rural
urban
areas with the message that is suited to the rural voter.
Community, yeah.
And in the urban centers, you target your messaging, your communication in such a way with messages that focus on those who are in the urban centers. Okay. And the rural people feel comfortable with the CPDM, and that's why the CPDM controls most of the rural local councils, okay, and most of the rural constituencies.
Okay. Now, he just talked about controlling most of the rural constituencies, but in the northwest and southwest where your party is well implanted, that phenomenon is also felt. That's in rural areas where you have people who follow your party, it's difficult to uproot them from such constituencies.
That can be explained, even when it comes to CPDM, that can be explained that in the local council area, the people know themselves better. The people know themselves better so much that when a political party puts up a list and you discover that most of those we know that could do the job are already on that list, some people feel discouraged. And most of those people belong to the same political party. The tendency is that in the urban towns, people understand what party politics is. And in the local area, some people take it as if it's a religion. As if you are not for this one, you are an outcast, you are some person who is not desired, you are some kind. So that's what happened in those
rural settings.
In those rural settings.
Yes,
I have a different opinion, Joe, about politicians in the rural area. You know, the people of the CPDM, they have made the people of the rural area so poor and hungry that when they throw a little piece of bread at them, they scramble over it. You see, they have been using the divide and rule. They want to pick a few elites who are not even represented and then make them rich in those areas, and then they come there and they impose. So after elections, for example, if you do not support them, you will not go to ENS, you will not go to INAM, you will not go. So it's poverty, Joe. It's poverty.
There are some hot urban areas where elections will be really tough. Yeah. Marwa, for example, with 7 political parties, Douala and Yaoundé. Yes. How do you foresee your party competing in such areas, especially in the northern, in Marwa, for example, and Garwa, where the FNSF party of FNSC of Minister Issa Chiruma, he will be leading his list in the Benue, for example.
Joe, as I said earlier, you see, we have come to rewrite our name in the history book.
Thank you.
So, up there in the Grand North, don't be surprised what you will see. We are well prepared. The militants have been educated. We have spoken to them. We have given them enough education that they should not be deceived with this one-day piece of bread. You know, they should have the kind of bread that Jesus Christ came and gave to the world, everlasting bread. You know, don't come and do something.
And you'll get that through the NUDP?
Yeah, we'll get it. We had it before. We had it before.
Before meaning when?
I mean, we had... We
part of the bread.
No. We had many parliamentarians before.
Okay.
So we will still have it this time because we have educated them. My national chairman and my comrades up north have educated them enough. But Joe, that is not why I'm here. I still want to go back to why I'm here. I'm here because of the Northwest.
Yes, but you are representing your party
Yes.
on this panel.
Yes, Joe. I want to reiterate this point.
But you'll have a daunting task in the campaigns in your constituency.
Joe, it's like you're going for a football match. It cannot be easy. There's no walkthrough in any success.
Okay.
Do you understand? There's uphill tasks even for the SDF, anybody, the CPDM. Nobody's going to pick. It's not a crown in the mud. Nobody's going to pick it. You have to fight for it. You have to work for it.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. I'd like us to move to our next phase of our debate. We've talked about who is where and who is who. I'd like us to move on to the importance of the polls that will be coming. That's the stakes involved. Let's just watch this pie chart to see how the former parliament looked like. Okay. We see the CPDM there with 148 seats. We see the SDF with 18 seats, the NUDP with 5, the CDU with 4, the UPC with 3, the MDR with 1, and the MRC with 1. So we had as many as 7 political parties represented at the last legislature. And the question I'm asking, do you think that as many as 7 parties or less, more or less parties will come to Parliament this time around? I would like to begin with the civil society observer. Do you see many more parties coming into Parliament this time than the 7 we had in the last legislature? Dr. TWHIN?
My answer is a blatant no.
Okay. Why?
Because when you see a party like the SDF party with 18 seats, and we all know that their fief, their home, is
being destroyed.
I don't want to say being destroyed.
No, it's in trouble.
Yes. What do you expect? Simply don't foresee anything. Because as I said earlier, the fright is in the people. That should be worked on to give the people the enabling ground to go out and vote.
Okay. The government is doing that. You just talked earlier
Joe,
on...
I am not done, please.
Okay.
I just wanted to add this. That out of that is the multiple parties that are coming in for the elections.
About
like
42.
Yes, like you asked the question here. Many of them, in my opinion, are coming in for individualistic reasons. They really don't have the interest of the people at heart. And I begin to wonder if they really think that they will be in that parliament.
If they didn't think that, they won't go in. They think that they'll go in. Maybe the people will prove them wrong by not voting for them. In the last elections, we had almost the same number, if not more. But like the Bible says, many are called, but few are chosen. So the people choose just 7.
Well, like you said, few are chosen. I think that fewer will be chosen this time around.
Okay, less than 7.
Yeah, that is my opinion.
What do you think, Professor Ngole?
We are Democrats, and our expectations are that we will do better than we did last time.
What about the other parties? You
about
expect
the other parties, we
the
expect
next legislature or the 10th legislature to will have a better coloration than a multicolored parliament than the last one?
I mean, for us, again, as Democrats, as competitors, just like Mr. Tumenta said, it's like an election is like a football game. We expect to do better than we did last time, and the rest of the seats, obviously, as many parties can compete for the rest of the seats as they can, as long as we get our share, like in any football match. But what we know is that, given the challenges in the Northwest and the Southwest regions, the socio-economic and political challenges that are there, obviously, for everyone, including us, mean, it's not going to be that easy, but we, in our campaign strategizing, we've taken into consideration the fact that these challenges in the northwest and southwest will be there for us, but we know that they will be there also for the other political parties. So we hope that the 42 political parties that have been indicated or have registered will be able to campaign everywhere, as we in the CPDM intend to do everywhere, including the northwest and southwest, in spite of the challenges that are there. Mr. Tumenta said, for example, in his constituency, in Ngoketunja, everybody is in the bush, but he hopes that by February 9th, he would have convinced them with the messaging, with the kind of communication for them to be able to come back. We are also hoping the same way to be able to convince as many, and we hope that these 42 political parties have the right methodology, the right approach, communication.
You won't advise them on doing that. I'm sure they have put in place their own strategy, or else you move from your own party and tell them what to do to beat you. Now, the MRC or the CRM is out already, so we have they won't be competing. But do you think that you'll have many more parties in the next legislature than you had in the last one?
That is our wish. That is our wish. But since
I mean the number of political parties, not MPs for your party.
That's what I'm saying. That is our wish, that we should have more political party represented in the National Assembly. That way the opposition can be stronger, That way the opposition can be stronger, because wherever we have our list, wherever the opposition is going for elections, we think that if the opposition has, the real opposition has more MPs elected in the National Assembly, change can come through that. Now, why did you not ally, or have you put in place a strategy to ensure that the opposition picks votes in this or that constituency, and that have you put up blocks somewhere against the CPDM? Of course, if you want me to announce our strategy on this set, of course, we are working with other opposition political parties. Towards that? Of course. Okay. Leonard, so many political parties think that, especially of the opposition, that the coalition of the opposition should be in ideas and in trying to man polling stations, and that you people fail because you don't man polling stations.
Well, that was then. As Matt said, we have a new strategy and we have a new way of playing this particular game. Okay. So it's not for me to come and stand here on CRTV and tell you what the strategy is. Okay. So come the D-Day, you will know what we're doing. Now,
that brings me to, with your permission, the organizational factor. For every political party, and I speak for our own party, the CPDM, the organizational factor is very important, because in organization, that's where you know your campaign machinery, strategies, and structures. Like, for example, in the CPDM, we have 5 levels of campaign. Okay. Don't disclose them here, or else you'll be telling the people what
need more of lectures here.
Now, what is at stake in these elections? Yeah. No, I want the civil society observer to answer that before I come to you.
If the implications may be there as well as they may not be there. They may be there if what is expected, if the machinery is put in place.
Okay, let me turn the question otherwise. The importance of the upcoming elections to you.
The importance of the upcoming elections to me is the fact that these elections are gearing towards the regional election, especially the municipal. Mm-hmm. That, to the best of my knowledge, may bring a lot of change into this country if that is really done the way it is expected to be done. I mean, in my opinion, it will speed the process of decentralization. It will speed the process and if it does, then we are sure to see a lot of good things come with it. A lot of good things come with it. Because at the municipal level, let me take that one. I really don't want to speak. Unfortunately, today we are focusing on the legislative. I think that if we were to talk about the municipal today, let me delve a little into that area.
I would want us to keep that for next week. If you would want, I would invite you to come there too. Because what's at stake for your party in these elections?
Yeah, for our party, as you know, our party is a party that promotes and defends patriotism. We believe that for our country, for our nation, these elections are important in the sense, as Dr. CHEBONGNKENG said earlier, in the sense that, one, if the people can come around and choose freely who their representatives are in parliament and later and I guess also in the councils, they'll be able to be in a position to know who their leaders, their regional leaders will be, and we hope that because it will be their choice, that will make them feel like they belong, they own the system, and that the government is their government at both the local level and at the regional level. And I think that all of us will be happy that democracy is working at both the regional and local levels. That's why, for us, at the national level, the stakes are that we should approach these elections with love for one another, love for our country, love for our future, and passion, because we don't need to insult one another, we don't need to lie to one another, because these elections are going to set the stage for the people to feel once again that after what we've gone through in the last 3 years, for example, in the North and Southwest, the people are again there to choose who will be their local leaders and who will be their regional leaders tomorrow. So at that level, the stakes are there. But in particular, for the CPDM, the stakes for us are that we cannot do any less than we did in the last election. Because if that happens, it will be tantamount to us not being good enough. That's why our campaign strategy...
But you had a crushing majority in the last parliament.
Even
if you have 100 seats, it's still a crushing majority.
It is still, but we want to be even more crushing because we think that the men and women who are their militants, they are hungry to show that they support their party, they support their national president, they support the head of state. But that's why they want to be more crushing this time than they were even last time.
Don't you think that it's going to play on our democracy, given that it will be one-sided? The accusations they are giving to Parliament now will continue that it leans so much on one side.
Yes, you know, democracy by definition means the majority carries the day, but the majority in carrying the day does not ignore the minority, even however small the minority may be. That is the advantage that the CPDM has as a majority party, that it's always sensitive to the minority, no matter how small that minority. Now, that's why we preach in this campaign love and passion, integrity, because we believe that
a quick one
our
there
majority is
Dr.
a human...
Yes, Joe, I just want to add that at the level of the legislative, if the incoming parliamentarians have learned a lesson from the outgoing parliamentarians, it will greatly help Cameroon, because I would appreciate if while in the House, they learn from the mistakes of the past and take decisions that would profit the layman out there. When I have to think about the fact that children have been out of school today for more than 3 years, I think that the parliamentarians have a big role in this thing to play, because the decisions, they are the ones to make laws. They are the ones to decide on some of these things, and they know, they have heard the cry of the people. They know where some of these things started, and they will know exactly what to do.
The stakes for your party in the upcoming polls?
The stakes for our party is that
for the legislative in particular,
all the candidates that will file for this election should win, so that we transform the National Assembly, so that there shouldn't be a hand-clapping National Assembly, where some people think that they can have crushing majority, and so that with their crushing majority, they can crush the people, just as it is happening in Northwest and Southwest. We think that we need a better coloration of the National Assembly, more ideas in the National Assembly, and it is very important to renew the mandates will change the face of the National Assembly, because all this while the Cameroon National Assembly has been serving as the President's Secretariat, they don't deliver an eye to a law that comes from the government.
Unfortunately, you've not been in Parliament yourself, and you would have been
I'm a member of a political party that has parliamentarians.
And they tell you that that's what they were doing?
Of course. I'm telling you what we observe.
No, what comes? Including your party too. Okay.
Yes.
For the NUDP, what would be the importance of this elections to your party?
Joe, for me particularly.
Your party.
For my party, we want to do better than we want to have more than 50 parliamentarians this time around. And for the Northwest, I am the only candidate, and I hope that they are listening to me. The previous parliamentarians from where I'm coming from were chased out of their constituency because of lack of political will. There's a lack of listening to the local population. So
you think that you will listen more this time?
They will listen more, Joe, because as I said from the beginning, I came here only for peace. I have cried to get this opportunity so I can truly represent my people. I should not be a hand clapper.
Okay, if you are alone, what would you change?
Joe, do you know that it's a drop of water that makes a bucket of water? If I have this platform to become a parliamentarian and I keep shouting, I think that my voice will be heard one day. But if I shout in the bushes, if I shout in the country, nobody will listen to me.
Okay. Now, Barrister Ndango, you talked earlier on about the desire to improve, but you have a lot of challenges as a party.
Of course, we have a lot of challenges. Every political party has a challenge. They have a challenge to have a crushing majority. We have our challenges too, particularly in the Northwest and Southwest region where the SDF has a stronghold, and that is...
Used to have.
We still have. I don't know why you say use. Why do you want to accompany the CPDM into that?
No.
We still have.
Okay, excuse me, explain
we
why.
Still have. It is still the stronghold of the SDF.
Polls,
except you want to show me another stronghold of the SDF.
No, it is after the polls that you now say...
I'm saying for now, just as you told Prof, that no, for now, the stronghold is Northwest, and which is currently being destroyed just because it is a stronghold of the opposition.
That would be too much of an allegation.
I think that would be an overstatement, yes. Because we look at numbers. When you use the word in political science, stronghold, that means the numbers in terms of representation are such that you can use the word that this have a strength here. That's why you say
we have more parliamentarians in Northwest than any other place. That's why. That's why we say that's our stronghold.
If you take the two regions at the level of the parliament, if you take just in the Northwest alone, at the level of parliament, at the level of councils, you know, the differences are not very wide.
No,
in the Southwest,
that is our stronghold. You have your stronghold. Yeah. They are talking about the stronghold of the SDF that is being destroyed.
No,
they are not talking about that.
Okay, take the case of the Southwest. Of the 15 parliamentarians, the CPDM dominates.
Yes.
CPDM dominates all over.
Since we don't want to talk about councils.
No councils today. Yeah. But he was talking about their stronghold being the Northwest.
Yes, but yes, at a level of, I can give him that at a level of, for example, the Senate, because you won the 7 elected Senate seats. But in terms of the parliamentary seats,
we don't have a stronghold in Cameroon.
It's according to the CPDM and the SDF, the difference is not.
But it is our wide. Stronghold.
Okay. All right. We'll leave the idea of stronghold and come back to. Now, there is this idea. You will be facing some of the parties that have been your allies. What will you be telling the people on the field?
Right. I mean,
like the NUDP here.
Exactly. That's why, as the Secretary General gave the contours and the context of the campaign yesterday when he launched the operations, he said that this party, and if you read the circular, and the circular is a public document relative to the election and the campaign has to be approached from the standpoint of love. We must love each other, even if we are. But
we know that politics, especially election times, you hardly can talk about love.
Yes, no, for us.
Maybe cordiality.
Yeah, cordiality, being nice, being decent to one another, because we know that out there, We've got friends of yesterday with whom we have had alliances and so forth and so on. And even those who were not, the CPDM didn't have alliances with, such as the SDF and so forth, we have had cordial relations with the SDF, and a good number of the SDF personalities and members are our friends in other circles.
No backstabbing?
And there is no backstabbing as such, because we want to remain decent. We want to show that human love and human integrity, because beyond the elections, all of us have one stake in common. Whether you are SDF or UNDP or CPDM, we have to construct this Cameroon together. Okay. That's what democracy is all about.
That's true.
We construct the nation together.
Your party chairman talked about renewing the political class, that you should try as much as possible to bring in new blood.
Yes.
Was that respected in your party?
Indeed, indeed. In fact, he means so, because he's a true Democrat.
In referring to the big names there, we saw the same old faces.
Yes, this is what the process of pre-selection or selection did, or what you can call investiture did.
Okay.
But the people on February the 9th will speak. We always, as the head of state said in his end-of-year discourse, at the end of the day, we are in a democracy. Let the people speak, and the people will speak on February the 9th. We will do all the talking during the campaign and so forth and so on. But on February the 9th, the people will speak, and we hope in those places where they are in the bushes, like in Gokotunja and in other places in the northwest and southwest, they will come out of the bush and vote who they want. No soldier or police will force anyone to vote the way they don't want. Okay. This is the kind of democratic party that we are. We will be comfortable whom they vote for, because we are in a democracy and we believe in democracy.
Okay. Now, at the level of the NUDP, have you gone in with the hope of renewing the political class, bringing in new blood for those who are contesting in your party?
Exactly. If you go through the NUDP list, there are 90% of them are new faces, including myself here.
Okay.
So we are hoping, as Prof said, to build a new Cameroon, a Cameroon with love, peace, and stability.
Okay. What about the level of the SDF?
Of course.
We saw some of the old faces appear.
Some of the old faces, of course.
The big names, yeah.
Some of the old faces. You are calling them big names, thank you. I didn't know they were big names. When they were naming some big names, said so none of them.
It's the reporter that put it that way.
Okay, thank you. Of
because
course,
they've been in Parliament for quite some time.
We are doing everything to renew, to pump in fresh blood into Parliament, and that is why so many youths are found on our list, all of our where we've deposited to where we are going in for elections. And we think that with this new blood that is coming, and with the understanding and the belief that Cameroonians now are more politically mature, they are going to vote for our list.
Okay. Now, when you look at the way the parties are moving and the desire to renew the political class, what is your observation in terms of where Cameroon is going, or where Cameroon might go after this?
If the idea of renewing the political class within the circles of the different parties is really genuine, that will be fine. But that would depend too on what they define as membership, the status of a member. Because I've seen elsewhere where you see somebody standing as a municipal councillor with just a first school living. How representative, what would that kind of a person be, what would the person be telling the population out there? For example, if...
There are people who have not gone to school who are very wise.
For me, it is not only about being wise. It is about mastering the system. Take education, for example. Take the economy, for example. If somebody knows nothing about the educational system, and it happens tomorrow that the educational system is controlled at the level of the councils, what would somebody with an advanced level be telling somebody in the educational field?
I would like to differ slightly with you, because some of the richest people in our country are not educated.
And
so you would take the section for education and give to those who are learned.
That is exactly what I'm saying, Joe. That is exactly what I'm saying.
The business acumen, and give to those who have that that ability to develop that
That is
sector.
exactly what I'm saying. That
Okay.
I'm saying that they should not lose sight of the fact that once it is done, people should be placed where they can do what they can do,
Okay.
what they are competent in.
All right, that sounds quite interesting. With the way things are going, what are the options open to you now in terms of where to lay more emphasis? Maybe you would prefer to go to this area, not to this area, to lay. What are the strategies open to you?
Joe, to me, as a candidate, as I said from the beginning, I am hoping and praying that come the 9th, we have an enabling environment. Because my militants now in Gokutunja, they can't even go out to make a photocopy or one papers or to go and come to Bamenda to pick a document or to pick materials for fear of being known or not to know, or being pointed by some people. Do you understand? The environment, if you want to talk about strategy, the environment has to be favorable first. So we have our strategies that we've planned at the back door, but let the environment, the election environment, the voting environment be enabling first.
Okay. What are the options open to you now?
Where we lay emphasis everywhere SDF has a list, and everywhere there are Cameroonians to vote. What we are saying is that wherever there is an SDF list, we don't minimize any opponent. We are going to do everything, and the strategies will differ. The strategy in Northwest and Southwest are different from those in Yaoundé, and we are putting equal effort to make sure that all our lists, the list that we file in, say through. And we are, with the other political parties, opposition political parties, we are also working with them to make sure that wherever we don't have a list and there is an opposition political party, our militants and sympathizers will vote for that opposition. We want to give the CPDM a sanctioned vote all over the national territory, wherever we have a list. And even where we don't have, let somebody be there to talk on behalf of the people, because we believe that throughout the last legislature, the CPDM has not been representing the people.
Does that frighten you?
No, it doesn't frighten me, because, again, that statement he has made at the session is, for us, not founded. It is wrong, because the CPDM has continued to represent the people because it's conscious that it's a people's party. That is why you've talked about options. Our options, as Mr. Tumenta and Barrister Dango have said, for us in the CPDM,
they have their own options.
They have their own options. So for us, because we are conscious that we are a people's party and a party that is there at the service of the people, and that has continued to be conscious on representing the people, our options are as follows. That one, we go towards them. We avail ourselves to them. We are not afraid that they are whatever. We are ready to go towards them as decent human beings with an olive branch, with love, to show them that, yes, whatever has been the case, we are one, we love you, and we want that you should take us as one of you. Second, we want to give them the right information, and only what is right, factual information, the kind of communication that will make them know that, yes, this is true. If 2 + 2 is 4, we should tell them that 2 + 2 is 4. 3, we want to make sure that we don't speak from afar. We want to make it a campaign of proximity. That if in a quarter, in a hamlet, in a village, you find someone, whether he's a class 7 or is A-level or O-level or whatever, and is useful to the community, we want to empower that person and make sure that we use that person, because we believe that in a democracy, everyone is useful, no matter whether you're rich or poor, no matter whether you are educated or not educated.
Yes. The options for these parties, if you might give them one advice, the CPDM just like the opposition?
Yes, just that they should be honest. When they say that they have to go closer to the people, that they will be with the people. It will be a friendly kind of. The promises they go out there to give the people to constitute their options should be respected thereafter.
Okay.
They should not go tell them stories which they will accept, which ideas which they will buy, then give them their vote, then they turn their backs on them. That would be terrible, as it has always been. I am pleading that this time around a difference should be made.
If you were to talk to women, what would you say?
To women, you know, first of all, the women constitute the majority.
That's true.
Yes, and if the political parties were to invest in women, I think they could already rest assured that they have had what they are going out to have. But the unfortunate thing is that the women have not been educated enough to come out to the limelight.
Do you make efforts yourselves as women to educate your peers?
Yeah, that is why I'm here.
Okay.
That is why I'm here.
So if you were to speak to the women, what would you say? I
will simply tell them to take their rights into their hands, to come out to stand, because we will give them. We know that the children, that you are all children of women. And when the woman talks, a man listens better, a child listens better. So if they were to be at the forefront, I think they will have that soft spot, that motherly touch, which will give some impetus into to this Cameroon, because that is what is lacking. Take, for example, the few women in the top positions, the top positions in this Cameroon. Look at what happened yesterday. Whether it was yesterday or day before yesterday, when the Minister of Secondary Education is on her way to a mission, and then she hears that a son of hers is tapped in a classroom, she turns around to go right there to see what is happening.
It can also happen to a man.
A man. How many men would do this? How many men have done that? So I think that women should be given the opportunity and that they should be educated enough to be able to come out and make their voice cease heard.
The women are on several of the lists which have been constituted.
Very few, Joe.
On all our lists, we have
very few.
Lists.
Like an example of Boyo was cited. In case of Boyo was cited.
And that's why they were sanctioned. So a woman will now come in because the SDF list has a woman on it. So the list that didn't have a woman
have women on our list.
And I really appreciate and I pray, because I know a CPDM too has women.
Yes.
I pray that all the political parties should give them the place they are due.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
All right. So now, when you look at the strategies which have been put in place, and you look at the way things are going, where do you think you would lay more emphasis? Door to door, mega campaigns. Where would you lay emphasis?
No, for us in the CPDM, as a grassroots party, People's Party, door to door is where the emphasis will be laid. That the mega meetings are just there to announce big orientations, but the real campaign is that will go down to where the people live.
Okay.
As a 24-hour operation or exercise.
The SDF was very good in that in the past.
No, we are still very good in that. I don't know why you like talking about the SDF in the past. No, I don't know why I have a problem with the SDF. To you is in the past. We are still there in the present, and CPDM is just learning from all that. Door to door is good. Okay. Why are you always talking about the past?
No, you've made that observation.
We are going to meet Cameroonians wherever they are, whether on social media, whether door to door, wherever, anywhere, anyhow we can meet them and preach our message. Okay. Tell them our message, we'll meet them and tell them.
Okay. Now, what about the NUDP?
Yeah, in the Northwest and in the Southwest, door to door will not be possible for us. So we'll use other means in campaigning. But for the rest of Cameroon, we will do door to door.
Okay. Now, the role of the social media, we are in the electronic age and the information superhighway era where information goes very fast, and that the social media is playing a very key role in disseminating information and so on and so forth. So how do you intend to exploit that tool in your campaigns?
I will use WhatsApp, Twitter.
Do you have a team somewhere that would exploit that?
Yes, our communication department is working hard in ensuring that we use the maximum of
make the maximum use of it.
Of it.
Yes. The role of the social media in your party today.
Of course, we are going to use the social media. That one we are not going to.
A foregone conclusion.
Yes, we are going to use social media equally, just like any other medium that we can use, and we're going to make sure our party is organized so much so that at all levels, starting from the electoral districts, we have campaign teams there. They have their own strategies with regard to their own constituency, where they are, the realities of their constituency.
Now,
they know better what to do in that. I think I've not come here to disclose the whole.
No, you are not disclosing anything. You are just
of my party.
It's a global overview. Now, one of the criticisms which is always levied against the opposition parties is that they don't have polling agents. Have you worked on that?
Of course, that allegation is not an allegation, because in most of the polling stations you go there, you will not meet opposition representatives.
Okay.
But for now, everything is being done on all levels to make sure that wherever we have candidates, we should have them. The difficulties are there. Some people, of course, they will not want to come out openly to say that they are representing the SDF in the polling station, and equally because of finance. Of course, you know, in some, the CPDM can claim they have polling agents all over. They can pay anybody any amount to be a polling agent. But for the opposition political parties, at times it's very difficult for them and access to some political session to some opposition parties is really difficult, in the sense that some polling stations are very far off, so much that you have an agent. Before an agent gets there, the elections are almost done. But the ruling CPDM, they always have the means. The problem
talk
is
about
the
yourself.
means. Mm-hmm. So
you didn't raise enough funds for the operation?
We are raising funds, but the funds will not be enough as compared to those of the CPDM and his allies. So that's what we are saying. The CPDM uses all the state apparatus to work elections for them. So we only have our meager 5 francs that will contribute in the party to run all this. We cannot think that, you don't think that we should be on the same level with the ruling CPDM. And that is why you are asking me the question.
So
that
when they win,
opposition political parties don't always have representative in
polling stations. Yeah.
And I know why there is that cry. There is that cry because there is always fraud. And if the opposition was always present, they believe that there will be no fraud.
Well, the statement Barrister Dango has just made here now confirms and recognizes that the CPDM has both the comparative and competitive advantage in this election, because one, himself has acknowledged that they don't have enough means, and you know in all electoral operations you need means. Second, he has acknowledged that they don't have representatives in all the polling stations.
Before, not now.
Okay, maybe now they do, but as a matter of organization, any political party that's going in to compete with another political party in a democracy or in a football match, let me use that.
Yes,
you need to be represented. There's no if you are going to be in a football match and you don't have supporters in the field, that's already, they call the supporters as the 12th player or something. Yeah. You need to, the CPDM goes into an electoral process knowing very well the factors that enable you to win. And among those factors are that you organize yourself in such a way that you have the men and women who can represent you in all the polling stations, because the polling stations are where the vote matters, the voting matters, where every vote counts. Two, you must be able to organize yourself in such a way that you have the resources you need that can enable you to move and to carry out certain operations and other things.
We're moving towards the end of the program, and we will need to have your last words, your hopes and aspirations for the upcoming elections. Dr. Wankem.
My hopes and aspirations are that the elections should be transparent. The people who matter, the people who catch the interest of the electorate should be voted. the political parties should make promises which will be fulfilled at the end.
Is it possible for parties to make promises that will all be fulfilled?
We must crave their indulgence. If they cannot fulfill, they shouldn't make it, because that will look like fooling the people. When they are going out with whatever they have in their package, they should know that people are looking up to them at the end of that. People should, it is a give and take kind of.
Okay.
So when the people give to them, they should be ready to give back.
Okay. All right. The hopes and aspirations of the CPDM?
For the CPDM, the hopes and aspirations are that these elections of February 9 are elections that will usher in this new Cameroon that the head of state has talked about, a Cameroon in which, for the first time, the regions and the councils are truly and effectively devolved territorial collectivities. And that for the people have a chance, therefore, having gone through the experiences of, for example, 3 years of socio-political and security crisis in the Northwest and Southwest, they have a chance to, as Democrats, because I know that the people of Northwest and Southwest are indeed Democrats, and they are true and genuine Democrats. This is an opportunity for them to be able to vote for the right persons that will usher in this new regional house, these new regional houses, that for the first time since the national dialogue, the major national dialogue, and gave recommendations, those recommendations have already begun being implemented and have to continue to be implemented by the people that will be elected, and that the special status that is given to the Northwest and Southwest can only be meaningful if the people of the Northwest and Southwest themselves take this into their hands and use their freedoms to vote for the right persons who will be able to implement this special status. Because if they don't, it will be a case of a missing opportunity.
Okay. Your hopes and aspirations for
I will start by saying that the hopes and aspirations of the SZF is that the government will live up to its responsibility to ensure that there is peace and stability in the troubled region so that elections can hold there. And we equally hope that Cameroonians will come out in their numbers to vote wisely, and that the call for boycott by some political parties is a way to accompany the CPDM to win. We think that the person who benefits from any boycott of election in this country is the ruling CPDM party. And I think that except there's a second plan by those calling for boycott for CPDM to win, people should not heed to that call. People should come out and vote, because those calling for boycott have not proposed any alternative to Cameroonians, that if they don't vote, what will happen? And so what if you don't vote? What are they proposing to Cameroonians? They should come out and vote, because not coming out to vote, you are an accomplice to whatsoever that will happen tomorrow. I'm not a victim. You don't complain if you do not participate in the electoral process.
The hopes and aspirations of the NUDP party?
I pray for peace to return in the Northwest and the Southwest. And I equally share, as a political party, we share the pain of all the bereaved in these two regions, both civilians and military personnel. And I pray that the government of this country should live up to expectation, that take their responsibility into their hands.
Okay. Thank you so much, lady and gentlemen. It was a pleasure having a woman on the panel. It's always very rare to have women come out, not because they don't want, but most women don't like politics. I don't know why, but all the same, we are glad that we had one today. Thank you for being with us on the program. We'll be with you again same time next week for the second edition of the program. And during the program next week, we'll be talking about the municipal elections. But before that, on Tuesday, you'll have my colleague Emi Robert Bina will be coming up with the second edition of his program. That will be next Tuesday. Until when we meet again, stay with CRTV if you can. Good night.